once upon a time in a well-known city, on a quiet little street, on a quiet little lot, there lived the most perfect family. All right, it was not such a quiet little street, and it was really on a soundstage at a busy movie studio, but the family that lived there was unlike any other.
Sure, that's what everybody saw. But there's a whole lot of stuff you didn't see. And this is the real story of the people who played the Bradys, told by the Brady cast themselves.
It's Brady Bunch Home Movies.
There were 9 of us in the original cast.
That's a lot of Bradys. And we're still around doing a lot of different things.
I'm in the computer business.
I work behind the camera making movies and commercials.
I'm still acting, singing, trying to get dates.
But what we have to share tonight is 25 years of memories. Oh, and some home movies. Actually, a lot of home movies. You see, back when the show was still pretty young, the man who played my husband, Robert Reed, gave each of the cast members Super 8 cameras. All right, hit it.
Tonight, a fascinating look at the people behind the Brady Bunch phenomena, with footage never before seen by the public. See long-lost Brady home movies. Watch Brady cast members as you've never seen them before and after being Bradys.
You know, my agent's called, my lawyer's called, their lawyer, and I don't know, I haven't been paid yet.
Hear secrets about the show never told anywhere else.
She was, you know, kind of a little wild one.
To be quite honest, there was one person there who made life hell.
Now, for the first time, some entire cast has come together for a reunion you will never forget.
I hate them all! I have in my hand the original camera that Robert Reed gave me for Christmas.
It's still got film in it.
Oh, yeah, there's a roll of film.
Yes.
We had these great jumping frogs, typical amphibian, you know, and the frog and Maureen, something's got to get done. The rest of the afternoon, I was carrying the frog around and trying to chase her and putting it on her head when her back was turned. She was beside herself with fear.
This is an incredible look at a worldwide phenomenon from inside the fishbowl.
People were banging on our hotel rooms and trying to get in.
If I'd known it was going to turn out to be this long, I'd have taken notes.
It seems to be in people's hearts, you know, all over America.
A girl 9 years old wrote to me and said, "Thank you for creating the Brady Bunch, because you taught me and my parents how to live."
It even propelled into a phenomenon. So, what is it with this show? Before she was Cindy, she sang for Elvis.
When you wore a tulip, a sweet yellow tulip, and I wore a big red rose. When you caressed me, what a blessing, no one knows. It's sweeter than tulip.
How's it going, honey? Looks like everything's under control in here.
And I wore a big red rose.
And then, a little bit of lightning struck.
My first audition, it was 3 days after my 7th birthday. And I walked into the office, and Sherwood was there, and they all sang happy birthday to me. I said, oh, these are really nice people, and I'd like to work for them. Initially, I loved to wear my hair in those pigtails. Little did I know it would be really difficult to ever have my hair be any different.
I always had a love for Susan because she was such an independent little cuss. Toughest little kid you ever ran into.
I loved Hawaii because I was crazy about water. Unfortunately, I nearly drowned when we were in Hawaii. We were shooting all of us Bradys in an outrigger. During one of the rehearsals, the outrigger with the camera hit into ours.
All I could think of was I knew that Susan didn't swim.
I'm hanging on at just the point where I got where I couldn't hang on anymore. Florence grabbed me.
Well, all I can remember from that was they said, we're going to do it again.
Susan and I were buddies. We were friends. We'd have sleepovers where she'd come sleep over at my house, but that wasn't very much fun for me because it was my house, right? I always wanted to go sleep over at her house because that was cool, and she had like a big backyard, and like she always had like 8 dogs. She's a neat lady.
I got a call about doing a variety show with the Brady Bunch. Cool. You know, I'd love to have another job. Be careful what you ask for, you just might get it. I'll be forever Cindy. Where will this end? I'll be 80 years old playing Cindy.
Today, Susan Olsen produces programs for television. Before she was Jan, Eve Plum was making dolls talk.
Hi, Julie. Now listen. Guess who's here to talk to you? I love being a fashion model. Who's that? That was my new cousin Barbie.
When I was 6, a children's agent moved in next door to me and talked my mother into sending me on an audition, and I got the job. So then she sent me on an audition for something called the Brady Bunch, and I got that job too.
As a teenager, she was, you know, kind of a little wild one.
I sort of saw Eve as like the untouchable older woman who, you know, I liked Eve. I was attracted to Eve.
Eve was obviously very attractive. She was the girl.
When the show was shot and the day done, Eve and Maureen couldn't wait to hit the beach.
Eve and I just had a great time off the set together, you know, and a lot of times we'd spend weekends together and just hanging out and being friends.
And when night fell and the talk turned to boys, the party was just beginning. And if Maureen and Eve were more than sisters, Robert Reed was more than dad.
Robert was so wonderful. He said we're going to take a trip. It was like all of a sudden, well, we're going to be spending a week in New York and then a week in London. The trip on the QE2 was amazing. It was probably the first time that I ever stayed up all night, unsupervised, you know, running around the ship. Because Maureen and I were bunking together. We went to see Shakespeare's house. We went to see the Changing of the Guard. The most amazing opportunity of a lifetime.
Today, Eve is a professional artist. But ever the actress, Eve stars in a documentary spoof based upon an inept group of guys making a Bible epic.
Noah, I'd like you to meet Mrs. Noah, Eve Plum.
Hi, how are you?
Cass.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Oh, so young. They're going to take some of the gray out of here.
Oh, no, they're going to be putting me in old maid makeup, so don't worry about it.
No problem.
Oh,
Brian's going to take you on into makeup. Makeup this way, Brian.
But no matter what she does, it's hard not to think of her as Jan Brady.
Jan, I mean, Eve, we're going to need you in 5 minutes, all right?
oh, all right.
Before she had men completely under her spell.
Go ahead. Trick me.
Mix of picking, razzie to make. Tricked. You better watch out.
Out of cookies? Let's make some.
And she had fun poking the Pillsbury doughboy.
It may not be too surprising that attractions develop. Now, I also realized I'd probably have to be patient. She was only 12.
We had such a good time doing the show. We really cared about each other. We were really friends on and off the set.
What would happen is we would find ourselves in scenes, and then all of a sudden we would forget what we were talking about, and all of this sort of hormonal charge would take over, and then you'd hear, "Cut!"
Maureen was terribly dramatic. If the scene called for it, all of a sudden she was just bawling with tears running down the face.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, you know, and so I had to make sure I irritated her constantly.
She was, shall we say, gullible.
Maureen was the brunt of a lot of practical jokes.
Well, she had braces in one episode, and of course, all the adults are telling her, you know, we're just going to put these braces on, to you for this 3-day period for the show, and that was an obvious one, you know. I had to tell her that she would never be the same. That was the one time that her mom really got mad at me, because I really had to upset her. I'd do it again. From the eyeball, to the frogs, to the braces, what a mark.
We were very lucky because we had 5 other kids, you know, to grow up with and to share the experience with.
She always loved music and loved to be a musical performer.
And now she makes the crowd stomp and cheer.
The sun comes up and the sun goes down. I bet you $5 I'm still around.
I grew up singing from the age of 3. When people would come over, I'd get up on a table and start singing. Country has always been my favorite kind of music.
Coming up next, what Michael Lookinland kept locked in his basement for more than 20 years.
Check out the cut on these babies.
To this day, there are 3 blonde boys who could have been, and 3 dark-haired girls who could have been. Hair brown like them. Yes.
There were 117 original episodes of The Brady Bunch, yet it has never been off the air in the more than 25 years since its premiere, playing over and over in syndication. That makes it one of the most watched television shows in history. Whatever magic the show possessed, audiences obviously continue to eat it up. Maybe it's because of the 3 Brady boys. Before he was Bobby, Michael Lookinland wouldn't give up eating creamy food for all the toys in the world.
What you got? Yogurt. Let me taste. Nope. Want to trade?
Of course, he did like to play with his buckets of nuclear radiation.
With his wheelbarrow, he carries the blocks to his radiation dump truck. And then the radiation dump truck dumps them.
Being a kid on the Paramount lot was absolutely a blast. Chris and I would play in the Bonanza set. We would wolf down our cheeseburgers as fast as we possibly could at the commissary so that we could get out and play in the Bonanza set, play gunfighter or hide and seek.
Mike and I played all over the lot. We had hiding places all over, and
we had a few battles. Then I had to go to the president of the studio and I said, look, they're going to be running all around this place. They need the chance to be kids most of all.
Sure, it was fun, but it was a lot of work too. All child actors have to go to school right at the set.
The part of Bobby seemed natural for me because it was just a kid playing a kid. This one is going to blow you away.
No.
I thought this was gone, but we found it in my mother's garage.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
After he was given the Super 8 movie camera by Robert Reed, Mike discovered that he really enjoyed making movies. Here's one of his early films.
If I was at work, I would be sitting exactly right where I am now, next to the lens. The camera operator would have his eye in there, and I'd be focusing just like this.
Not only was he a camera assistant on Stephen King's The Stand, but
I was in The Stand. I played a little cameo with Stephen King, which was a blast.
Now be careful. It could be Stu or... Hell, it could be anybody.
Before, after, $29, $200,000.
All because of a little Super 8 camera given to him by Robert Reed. Before he was a Brady, Chris Knight was tossing frisbees on commercials.
A full-size frisbee be free with free cereal tracking seals. Details on boxes marked like this.
I didn't have the happiest home, so this home was actually happier. I didn't realize that at the time, but this was an escape from that.
Chris did indeed find a loving family amongst the Brady Bunch cast.
Chris is a good guy. We did a lot of stuff together. We made model rockets. Model rocketry was big in our lives at that point.
There was one person there who made life hell, and that was Barry Williams. He had this thing in his pocket and he kept clicking it. He looked at me, looking intrigued, and said, "Guess what that is?"
A lighter that would go around and it would drive him crazy.
I went back to the dressing room and I'm rifling through his pockets to try to find this thing in his pocket that was clicking. Because I was caught red-handed and thinking that, I was going to get, like, clobbered. He looked at me with downcast eyes and said, what an idiot. What a lowlife. For years, I was told Eve had a crush on me, and I had no use for such things. I had no interest in such things. I'm a slow developer. But she finally had me in a kind of a slumber party kind of environment on a ship.
We had Maureen and Eve sharing one stateroom, and then Chris Knight and I sharing another stateroom. So I arranged to get Eve out of there, who was only too pleased to oblige, by the way, because she sort of, in her teenage way, lusted after Chris.
Nothing really happened except for just some necking. But it was my first necking experience. I hope Eve doesn't kill me for this.
But if you think he's finally put Peter behind him, you don't know Chris. An expert in the computer industry, Chris is taking the Brady Bunch into cyberspace, where kids learn geography, Brady Bunch style.
Being a Brady is a very positive thing. Everywhere I go, I'm known. Peter's there before me, and I finally have found comfort with this identity because I'm never going to outrun it. It's always going to be there ahead of me.
Before he was Greg, Barry went wild in the movies, ripping the covers off of furniture.
All right, son. 1, 2, 3.
Barry was the cool guy who was, like, too cool for me.
He was definitely big man on our campus.
Barry, to me, was, like, way older, so he was almost in the realm of being an adult.
The only thing I've been longer than a Brady is a surfer. My favorite episode was when we visited Hawaii. I ended up almost losing my career in life there as a result of running into a coral head. But the killer to that was that our network decided that they didn't want to air that particular clip because they felt it looked too dangerous for a Brady episode.
And the one thing Barry liked more than surfing was impressing the girls.
He was 14 and he thought he was 40. He wanted to date Florence.
So I asked her out.
When we started this show, he was about here on me, and then he kept growing and growing.
We went out, and I think we had a good time. I don't remember a lot about it because I was so nervous.
We were really a hot item.
And then before we left, I actually snuck in a little kiss. An innocent kiss, but for me, it was skyrockets.
Oh, there, look at Barry and Maureen. Were you out on a date with her, too?
The first time I laid eyes on Maureen, I knew she was a babe. Now imagine crossing the Atlantic in one of the most beautiful cruise liners in the world. Maureen was asleep. I just crawled in there with her. So I waited for her to wake up, and when she didn't wake up, I just went ahead and started making my moves. I was starting to actually kiss her. And she wakes up, and her eyes got as big as saucers, and she said, "Barry, what in the heck are you doing in here?"
But that was then, and this is now. And now Barry Williams is a singer, actor, and theater star. But to millions of fans, there will always be a part of him that is Greg Brady. If you're under 40, just the name Brady Bunch brings forth all sorts of memories. Yet it almost wasn't the Brady Bunch.
I have the script from the pilot.
Does it have our original title on it?
It does. It said the
Brady Brood.
Brady
crossed
Brood.
out.
And I crossed it out in my 7-year-old, or actually, no, I was either 7 or 8.
You know what the deal was on Brood at that time? The network felt that Bunch was too controversial. Because it was associated with street gangs and lawlessness and Wild Bunch.
Gee, Brady Brood, home movies? Somehow it just doesn't cut it. Before she was Carol, Florence Henderson was singing the praises of rocket engines.
Oldsmobility is on the way.
Look and listen. I think the first time I really realized that this show meant something was when we went on location in Cincinnati, and all of a sudden there were all these people like surrounding us, and we had security guards, and people were banging on our hotel rooms and trying to get in, and I'm going, what is this? I thought we were rock stars or something. Do I remember the trip to Hawaii? We made a great discovery on that trip. Now, when we were on the plane, Robert Reed had straight hair. We got off the plane, and it was so humid. Right away, your clothes are wet, and Bob's hair started going, and all these little curls started coming out. And I said, Bob, you have naturally curly hair. He said, yes, I hate it. I've always hated it. I said, it looks great. Leave it. And I think Barry Williams also had curly hair, which we didn't know. And maybe Chris even had a little curl or two. Only the females who were honest to the core.
Florence was a lot of fun, and not entirely like she comes across in her professional work. She is a lot bluer than you would think.
Well, see, we never worried about the toilet on the Brady Bunch. We never went. That's why I always had that pained expression like this. Because I was always waiting to go to the bathroom. Didn't you ever wonder about that on the Brady Bunch? In the kitchen, in the bedroom, I can satisfy you.
She's a very feisty lady.
Before she was Alice, Ann B. Davis happened to win a couple of Emmys.
The winner in Hollywood is Ann B. Davis.
Ann B. Davis.
Ann B. Davis is one of Hollywood's great funny ladies, and her 2 Emmys were for playing Schultze on The Bob Cummings Show.
Guess what, boss? The costume company sent over 5 of these harem girl outfits, and, well, we only hired 4 models.
Yeah.
So there's no girl to wear this costume.
Uh-huh.
Seems a shame to just let it go to waste after we paid the money and everything. And I could, I let it go to waste.
I think it's best.
Nobody plays me just quite as well as I do these days, so a lot of me ends up in Alice.
She brought into focus the fact that we weren't children. We were professionals.
I'm not really good with kids, so I didn't have the kind of relationship with them that Alice does.
I was surprised to read that she felt uncomfortable with all these kids because she didn't seem that way to me. She was just wonderful.
To me, children are a spectator sport, but that's fine. I'd love to sit around and watch it.
One of the things about Ann B., never could remember anyone's name. She said, if I forget your name, don't be offended. I can't remember my own name.
I'm selling a cookbook these days. I call it Alice's cookbook. All the way through the book, I say, I don't cook. Well, I'm acting, you see, I'm acting. You can carry acting a little too far, I mean.
And then there was the time Henry Kissinger visited the set.
His little boy wanted to see the schoolroom where the kids had, and they had all the pictures up, and I took him out and showed him the room, and where it had all their fans had sent their pictures, and they had it all covered over a wall in this little schoolroom. It was very cute. And by the time I brought him back, they thought I kidnapped little Kissinger.
She might be Alice to millions, but Ann B. continues to tackle new and challenging roles.
I'm playing in Crazy for You, a Gershwin musical. I've been with it for 1.5 years now. Having great fun with that.
Next, the entire cast salutes the world's most understanding father, with home movies taken by Robert Reed himself.
And my first choice went on to, no fame at all, as Gene Hackman.
I think he just wins all those Oscars to prove to you he could have done the Brady Bunch.
Gene Hackman? Mike Brady? Nah. Before he was Mike, Robert Reed was a farm boy in Oklahoma. He studied Shakespeare at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in London. He was a star on Broadway.
Bob never wanted to do the Brady Bunch. He doesn't like kids. He doesn't think of himself as a parent, you know, really, and he's the best parent.
As a Shakespearean actor, Robert Reed may not have seemed suited to play slapstick humor. But a funny thing happened. He fell in love with the kids in his cast.
He really cared, and once he made the decision that he was going to be there, he was going to be there, and he was going to make it the best he could.
He fought for realism on the show, which I really respected. He was wonderful.
Like a father, he really wanted to be instrumental in our growing up.
He came by one year with Super 8 movie cameras for each of us. He was always generous.
At his own expense, Robert Reed took his television family to New York to see Broadway and to London to experience Shakespeare. He wanted to share with them his love and respect for acting.
I remember thinking, wow, this guy really cares about us.
He affected my life in a number of ways that will be remembered forever.
I firmly believe that we were his family. We were his real family. You know, I first found out that Bob was ill. He called me and he said, Florence, I need you to do me a favor. He said, I really thought I was going to make it, but he said, I was told that I wasn't. And he said, I need you to call the kids for me and Ann B. He said, would you do that?
I think what was unfortunate, though, is because his demise was so quick that never had an opportunity to tell him. He was father. I mean, he supplied me with and a lot of this is just tough.
Yeah.
In a lot of little ways, part of who I am today. It's hard because I didn't get to tell him.